Understanding of the situation in Gaza right now. I'm joined by Joseph Belliveau. He's the Executive Director and CEO of Doctors Without Borders Canada. Hi, Mr. Belliveau. Good to see you. Thank you for making the time for us tonight.
Yeah, hi, Vassy. Nice to see you again.
I wanted to start off and just ask you if you could describe what your staff, I think there's about 300 people associated with your organization in Gaza, what they are up against right now.
The overriding message that our staff, MSF, Doctors Without Borders staff, have been sharing with us over the past few days is where can we be safe? Put most simply, where can we be safe? And that is because the nature of the incessant airstrikes that have been occurring over the last days in Gaza, as my colleague described it earlier today, the fighter jets are demolishing entire neighborhoods block by block, and there's no place to hide. Literally, that's what he had said. And over, these last days, we've had our staff describing to us how buildings are being destroyed. One building right next to the MSF office in Gaza City was blasted and destroyed. People have lost their homes. Our employees have lost homes and been asked to evacuate from their homes. And so when they're out and kind of exposed and on the streets, they don't know where to go. They literally don't know where to go. One of my colleagues who was actually had sought shelter in the MSF office described how he's there with his wife and his young daughter and young son, and he just described how he had to look into the faces of his children and see the panic there and just not have an answer about how he can provide safety for his family. I think that's really the overriding message, what we've been hearing.
And to what degree is their ability to deliver medical care to civilians in Gaza? To what degree has that been impeded with the blockade?
So it's been such a challenge. Our teams have been in Gaza for about the last 20 years already. So we have a large staff, as you mentioned, about 300 people, pre-positioned medical stocks, and so on. So we were able to jump into immediate action, as opposed to on the Israeli side. So we have offered our assistance to the Israeli health authorities as well, knowing that there's an extremely high number of casualties on that side and that hospitals might also be overwhelmed there as well. But of course, we haven't been on the Israeli side all these years because the Israeli health system is so robust and so strong relatively, which is why we've had our programming in the Gaza side. That has meant at least that we have had these people and the stocks that allow us to jump into emergency response mode. Now, it's been just a nightmarish challenge. Overwhelmed is the word that I hear most often from our medical colleagues in the hospitals, who are just receiving waves of injured people. More than half of the people we're seeing are women and children, and so clearly coming back to this kind of indiscriminate nature of the bombing attacks that are clearly not differentiating between civilians and non-combatants, and which is what international humanitarian law clearly calls for, that distinction. That's not being respected, and so overwhelmed by the number of patients and injured people showing up in the medical facilities. At the same time, we're quickly running out of medical materials. We're almost out of painkillers and anesthetics that we need to do surgical interventions already. And we've used about 3 weeks worth of our emergency response stocks in 3 days. So that just gives you maybe a sense of the kind of the volume of patients that are arriving at these hospitals. Now, on top of all that, electricity has been cut. So the hospitals have had to move to generators to power the facilities. And as of yesterday, this was already yesterday, a colleague was describing to me how they have about 12 hours of fuel remaining. Imagine where we go from here if all of a sudden there's no power to the hospitals, and then the medical supplies, and then food and water we can get into as well.
I just have 30 seconds left. I just want to make sure that I ask you about that very point. Is it your anticipation, based on the lack of fuel, the lack of electricity, the lack of access to those supplies, that there will be a point at which those hospitals cannot run?
Unfortunately, I think that's a very real possibility. Yeah, this kind of siege, this blockade, where nothing can get in or out of Gaza, is we're already feeling that, as I described, running out of immediate stocks that we need. If we fast forward and look even days, certainly if we look weeks into the future, if we're not able to lift that blockade and get medical people and medical supplies, and then there's the food and the water that's also going to quickly lead to malnutrition or disease outbreaks if that's not also flowing. If these things don't happen, I think we're going from horrendous to catastrophic pretty quickly.
Mr. Belliveau, I have to leave it there. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much.